Al Yisrael, Klal Yisrael is perfect. And Klal are one inherently, inside. The word that's used is Teva. The Teva of a Yid is that he's one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he cannot change that. He always says this. Remember, just like the collective Jew, it's called the whole Jewish people are not an entity that has to learn to love Hashem. There's no Mesida Lelev, there's no emotion, no regesh. But the Ava Mesuteres is enough motivation for me to be able to control. No Jewish guilt. Is prepared to be Mesa Nefesh for Kiddush Hashem. Says the Rebbe, so this Yid, who's a holding in the Madrega of Midas HaBeinani, who's not dealing with Dovar Amosel Alev. No. We're not talking about emotion at all. That's why there's no changes from time to time. We're simply talking about Avenesechem Avdilim in a Rega. We're not talking about the lingering effect of an Aveda. The Pgam, which has to be fixed and so forth. We're talking about the Rega of the Aveda. He says, I don't want to be a Rasha for a moment. What's my motivation? My Ava Mesuteres. I'm a Jew, like any other. And if I'm a Jew like any other, I have the koyach that every Jew has. I told you this a while back. One of my students showed me. It's so, you don't have to laugh or cry. A guy wrote, you know how on the Facebook, you can very easily create a page. It looks like an advertisement, or it's meant to be decorative. You make a statement, but the statement becomes like a... What does it mean to him? It means nothing to him. So what is he so excited about? Because it means everything to him. But he's saying he's an atheist. He's saying he's an atheist. Schreit das in the Gott. Because he's going to try and he's going to try and he's going to try. He can't, you can't change your spots. You can't change your stripes. You can try very hard to work on yourself, to destroy the God which is in your heart, but save, kol, save, the Yid is inside. And that's what this is. It says the Rebbe, I'm no worse than him. If a Yid who's not only uneducated, but if a Yid is also without conscience, without guilt, without any sense of the right thing is this. If I do the wrong thing, I feel bad. There isn't even an I feel bad. Nothing. And that Yid, as they say, when the push comes to shove, is Mesa Nefesh Kiddush Hashem, I'm no less than him. Ella, the teretz is only, Shenichnes Beiruach Shtus. Why would a person do an Aveda? Now let's remember the context. The context is that there's no Dovar Amosel Lev. We're not talking about a Maimed Matzav of any emotion. None. Zero emotion to the Mibsh. We're not talking about the lingering effect of the Aveda. We're talking about the Rega of the Aveda. This second. And the idea is that if I do something which I'm not supposed to do, for that moment, I'm cut off from the Eibishter. My motivation is Ava Mesuteres. How does it happen that a person should not listen to Ava Mesuteres? So the Alter Rebbe says it's Ruach Shtus. Ruach Shtus means a temporary insanity, a stupidity. In other words, it's unnatural. Ruach Shtus means it's Hepech HaTeva. My nature is I don't want to hurt myself. And my Ruach Shtus says I'm going to hurt myself anyway. That's how you understand it. And what does the Ruach Shtus tell me? Because these are some of the most American words in the entire Tanya. The Alter Rebbe lived before there was the 20th century and the 21st century and a hippie generation and a post-hippie generation. But the Alter Rebbe spoke into the future and he said, I'm a Jew at heart. V'nidmele, that the person duchtly, because your heart can't carry the whole Jew, it'll plot. Arucha v'kol atzmei zei tarmada. The Gemara says, Arucha b'chol ramach evarim. You want to irradiate from the heart to the whole goof. And if you're familiar with Chassidus, when the love is only in the heart, it's called B'chol Vavacha. And when it goes from the whole heart to the whole body, that's called B'chol Nafshecha. And when it goes to your wealth, to your Gashmistic possessions, that's called B'chol Meidecha. So the Ruach Shtus says, in my heart I'm Jewish. So it doesn't matter if my finger isn't Jewish. And it's a Ruach Shtus, it's a stupidity. It's wrong. Avalani eineni reitze liyas sheita kamoyu. I, says this person, who's the Madrega of Midas HaBeinani, in this moment, in this instant, we're not talking about a life. We're not talking about a year. We're not talking about a month. We're not even talking about a day. We're talking about an instant. Lichper emes, to deny the truth. What is the truth? That if chas v'shalom I do something I'm not supposed to do, for that moment, it's only for a moment, but for that moment, I'm cut off from the Mebishtin. And if at that moment, because from Mebishtin, whether I like it or not, I'm called Rasha. I don't want to. Okay? This is the end of what we read 2 weeks ago. Last week I focused on 2 points. I reviewed and focused on 2 points. Today I focused on the third point. Right? The first point last week was not Dovar Amosal Alev. The second point was the definition of Avenesechem Avdilim. And the third point, which we're learning about today, is Ava Meseteres. Ava Meseteres means a Yid does not need to be motivated to be motivated. And the words of the Alter Rebbe, he has to push it, not be a shaita. A shaita. A shaita. Okay, questions or comments?
I have one question. We trained, and this is how I grew up. We didn't have samadhi. I showed him double chassav. When Tanya, I don't know, I call them hybrids or whatever, this modern day, they're mamash achsav. And they claim that they're Jews. Are they?
Du darfst das nicht sagen in 77.
Because they attract them. It's a little easier, it's cheaper, you know. So why do you
Bichlal, when people are achzorim in today's day and age, is because they think that in another place they're being chazdonim. It's not truken achzorius. There's an expression, hamischased im hoachzorim misachze in chazdonim. I don't know if you could say that the people you're describing delight in being achzorim. They're claiming that they're protecting the chesed of somebody else. Am I wrong? But this is the nature of it. When you have displaced chesed, or to say it in Lashon HaChasidus, when there's no teferes, but the chesed is to a k'tei, it's like giving a child razor blades and saying, I'm a nice man. That chesed is going to have an underbelly which is going to be very, very cruel. But the kavanah is chesed. By a yid, that's possible. But in his own mind and in his own heart, he's saying, what do you mean? I care so much about this and that and the other, and I'm only doing it because of this, and I'm cruel to you because you're not as kind as you should be. A yid should be an achzir. L'shem achzorius, that's midah v'esav, as far as I know. Aber man kann sagen, that a Yid who in no way shows his pintel a Yid, the simanim you see. I read in a book when I was a kid, there was Lakewood used to have a series of children's books, teenagers' books. And they did a series, they traced a family through many, many generations. And one of the books was on the Spanish Inquisition. And in the back of that book, they had a supplement where they talked about the Spanish Inquisition. And one of the things that they write there was that the Spanish would identify Moranos by how people reacted during bullfights. During bullfights, when a bull tears a person to pieces, you have to cheer. And the Yidden would gasp. And that's how they knew who they were. That's a teva poshet. This is not about Teda mitzvah. This is poshet the teva. It's a nish kastire. Beide Sachen seine Nemes. But I want you to know that the Rebbe Zol Gesund sein has a word in Tanya Moidendik. And we'll stop with this, okay? Because we do have to learn Hayem Yem. In the first Perek of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe talks about the Nefesh HaBahamis of a Yid. It comes from Klipas Nega, Sheyesh Bo Gam Kein Tev. That has Midas Tevis. Kmei, Rachmonim Megem Lechasodim. And there's a special diok. We're talking about the Nefesh HaBahamis of a Yid. Not Nefesh HaLekis. And we're saying that the Nefesh HaBahamis has Rachmonas like Milas Chasodim that's altruistic. That's not reciprocal, no payback, just Faden Emes. So the Rebbe says, why doesn't he count by Shonim also? And the Rebbe says, because the Teva of a Yid is a Chutz Ben Yak, Yisrael Azan Shabumis. He says, Rachmonas like Milas Chasodim is in the Teva of the Nefesh HaBahamis. The third siman, the siman of Busha, a Yid could lose. Because that siman is not Matad the Nefesh HaBahamis, that's Taka that Nefesh HaLekis. And Tzumbadoyer, and we see this we see. You have 60 seconds because we have to learn Hayem Yem. I used to go on Mivtzoyim with a younger man, a very chassidish younger man, good mishugah. He had a mishagas. He would ask people in the craziest places, are you Jewish? In the most uncomfortable places. And when you ask someone, are you Jewish, in the middle of a busy intersection, everybody could see him putting on film, so you don't want to get into trouble, so you say no. So he would repeat, you're not a Jew. And I watched this happen 20 times. They would get so upset. I'm Jewish and leave me alone. He asked them, are you Jewish? He said, no. He just told them back his own words. They would get so upset.